Introduction. The Civil War in crisis by the autumn of 1863. The American Civil War had dragged on for over 2 bloody years. Neither the Union nor the Confederacy had delivered a decisive blow strong enough to end the conflict. The Union had achieved victories in the West, at Shiloh, Corinth, and Vicksburg, splitting the Confederacy along the Mississippi River. Yet the South had struck back with unexpected ferocity in places like Chickamauga. Chattanooga, Tennessee, became the next critical prize. Known as the gateway to the Deep South, the city held immense strategic importance. It was a vital rail hub, linking the agricultural heartlands of Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi to the Confederate armies in the East and West. Whoever controlled Chattanooga controlled the doorway to Atlanta, and ultimately, the industrial and political heart of the Confederacy. The strategic importance of Chattanooga geography made Chattanooga unique. Nestled along the Tennessee River and surrounded by rugged mountain terrain, the city was naturally defensible. Lookout Mountain towered to the southwest, Missionary Ridge stretched along the east, and Raccoon Mountain loomed nearby. Railroads radiated out of the city like spokes in a wheel, carrying supplies and troops to every major southern front. For the Union, capturing Chattanooga meant breaking through the Confederate heartland and opening the path to Atlanta. For the Confederacy, holding Chattanooga meant protecting its lifelines and preventing Union forces from cutting deeper into Georgia. Both sides understood its value, and both sides were willing to bleed for it. Aftermath of Chickamauga. The story of Chattanooga cannot be told without the stunning Union defeat at Chickamauga in September 1863. There, Confederate General Braxton Bragg had won one of the few clear-cut Southern victories in the Western theater. Union Major General William Rosecrans and his Army of the Cumberland had been thrown into chaos. Retreating in disarray back to Chattanooga, though Bragg's army had delivered a tactical triumph, it had failed to achieve a total victory. Rosecrans' forces, though shaken, had not been destroyed. They pulled back into Chattanooga, but the Confederate army quickly moved to surround them, cutting off supply lines and threatening to starve them into submission. The Union army inside Chattanooga soon found itself besieged. Supplies dwindled to desperate levels. Soldiers went hungry. Horses died from starvation. Men scoured the countryside for anything edible. The once proud Army of the Cumberland found itself trapped in a chokehold, hemmed in by Bragg's Confederates, who occupied the high ground of Lookout Mountain and Missionary Ridge. Union Commander William Rosecrans had been a capable leader in earlier campaigns, but Chickamauga shattered his confidence. Defeat haunted him. Inside Chattanooga, his command structure began to break down. Morale plummeted. Rosecrans seemed unable to act decisively, paralyzed by the memory of disaster and overwhelmed by the growing crisis. In Washington, President Abraham Lincoln and General Inch Halleck grew alarmed. They could not allow a starving Union army to collapse in Chattanooga. Losing the city would undo much of the progress made in the Western theater, embolden the Confederacy, and potentially threaten Union control of Tennessee. The Union needed new leadership, and fast. Meanwhile, on the Confederate side, General Braxton Bragg struggled with problems of his own. Though he had won at Chickamauga, his victory was incomplete. His army had failed to annihilate Rosecrans, and now, despite holding the high ground around Chattanooga, Bragg could not seem to finish the job. His subordinates despised him. Officers like James Longstreet and D.H. Hill openly questioned his competence. Infighting plagued his command structure. Instead of pressing his advantage, Bragg wasted precious time squabbling with his generals. Opportunities slipped away. While Union soldiers starved inside Chattanooga, Confederate leaders bickered among themselves. Bragg sent Longstreet's corps eastward toward Knoxville, weakening his own position. Instead of preparing for a major Union counterattack, Bragg assumed his grip on Chattanooga was secure. It was a critical mistake. Far away, another general was about to change the course of the campaign. Ulysses S. Grant had recently captured Vicksburg, delivering one of the most important Union victories of the war. He was promoted and placed in command of all Union armies in the Western theater, when Washington needed someone to rescue the situation in Chattanooga. They turned to Grant. In October 1863, Grant arrived in Chattanooga to take command. Unlike Rosecrans, Grant was calm, decisive, and unshaken by setbacks. He quickly assessed the situation. The Army of the Cumberland was trapped, starving, and demoralized. Yet they still held the city. If their supply lines could be reopened, the Union Army could fight again. Grant wasted no time. The first order of business was to feed the army. Grant approved an audacious plan devised by General William F. Baldy Smith to open a new supply route into the city. This lifeline became known as the Cracker Line, named after the hardtack crackers included in soldiers' rations. Union forces launched daring night operations across the Tennessee River. seizing key positions at Browns Ferry and linking up with reinforcements marching from Bridgeport. Within days, supplies flowed freely into Chattanooga again. The effect was electric. Starving soldiers cheered when wagons rolled in carrying food. Horses were fed. Morale soared. The Army of the Cumberland, once on the verge of collapse, began to recover its strength. The Confederates had lost their chance to starve the Union out. Now Grant prepared to go on the offensive. By November 1863, both armies were poised for a showdown. Bragg's Confederates still held the high ground on Lookout Mountain and Missionary Ridge, giving them commanding views of the battlefield. Grant's Union forces, now reinforced by troops from the west under General William T. Sherman and from the east under General Joseph Hooker, prepared to strike back. The Union Army inside Chattanooga had grown to nearly 60,000 men. What would follow in the last week of November 1863 was a three-day battle that changed the course of the war in the West. It would see daring assaults, dramatic reversals, and one of the most unexpected charges of the entire conflict. Chattanooga was about to become the turning point of the Western theater.